right, good morning. Great to be here. Thanks for getting up so early. Since this actually happens to be the first time that we're publicly talking about AxeroVision, I will spend a few minutes telling you a little bit about the company and what we are about, which is trying to develop novel treatments for dry eye disease and ocular surface inflammation, other inflammatory diseases of the eye. AxeroVision was founded about 3 years ago as a spin-out from GSK. We also have a strong European pharma partner in Laboratoire TEA, whom we will be doing the later stage co-development of the assets with. We have a very strong, nimble team with very deep experience in ophthalmic drug development across the spectrum. And they're mostly former Allergan people who have essentially spent their career there. Very, very happy to have such a very experienced group in my company. Sorry, I wanted to advance this here. There we go. We have two assets. The lead one, we recently completed a clinical proof of concept study with, and for the other one, we are about to file an IND, so we're very excited about both those programs. And given the crowd and the topic of this session here, I'm not going to say anything about dry eye. I think you all know about it. So given the limitations of time, I will focus on our lead asset, AXR159. It's an integrin antagonist. It's a unique target with respect to the eye. Integrin is called alpha-4 beta-1, has also been referred to as VLA4. It's not unique with respect to some other T-cell mediated diseases such as Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis, where it actually is a clinically validated target. And hopefully next year I'll be able to come back and talk a little about our second program and what we're doing there, including trying to actually develop the delivery into a platform technology. The reason why we're excited about 159 is that we have preclinical data that it not only works on the ocular surface directly, it actually inhibits the immune cycle in dry eye at the first step. We have data that show that the drug blocks antigen-presenting cells from migrating from the ocular surface to the draining lymph nodes, where their role is to prime T cells that then home back to the ocular surface and do in dry eye what T cells do in the disease. So I think that early interruption of the immune cycle actually is a very valuable asset. I had never seen that reported for any other ocular drug before. And I think it actually also helps us explain our clinical data to some extent, so I'll come back to that. The mechanism translated in the animal models, and these are just some data from a mouse model of Sjogren's disease. It's the TSP1 null mouse model, where we saw essentially, in a nutshell, steroid-like activity, both from a perspective of steroid-like fast onset, as well as steroid-like efficacy, whether we looked at corneal staining at the top or inflammatory markers at the ocular surface at the bottom. So that was obviously very exciting data for us. So how does that translate into the clinic? So I'm getting a little bit presbyopic here, so on the closer distance, actually, I see better without glasses. So we ran a clinical study in moderate to severe patients. We randomized 102 subjects, roughly 1-to-1, into high-dose AXR159 and a vehicle 3 times a day to maximize exposure at the ocular surface, and we treated patients for 12 weeks. And we looked at the typical outcome measures that are typical for an exploratory study at this stage. So this is what we found, and this is just a excerpt, and there are really 3 takeaway messages here. First of all, we identified a responder population based on pre-specified criteria. I think that's very important for us because it's going to help us and be beneficial for patient selection at the later stage studies. Should increase the probability of success. Second, we found that the drug not only impacts and benefits one area or one quadrant in the cornea, but it actually had a global impact on ocular surface staining. It improved in the responder population total corneal staining, conjunctival staining, and total ocular surface staining. So more than half of our ocular surface staining endpoints were significant at the level of 0.05 in this study. And the third one is that the drug works fast. We saw a substantial effect already after 2 weeks of treatment, which is the data that you actually see, or at least some of the data that you see here on the screen. So very excited about that, and the drug essentially was safe and well tolerated. So the question then comes, how does it compare with lifitegrast, that being another integrin antagonist? And I just want to be clear that this is not a comparison from a head-to-head comparison between 159 and lifitegrast. It's a comparison of the data we obtained in our POC study and compared with the data that have been reported for lifitegrast from their phase 3 program, the OPUS program, OPUS 1, 2, 3. And the effect in terms of corneal staining change from baseline, drug versus vehicle for 159 is in blue, the blue columns. And I think you can see that towards the end of the study, after 12 weeks of treatment, the effect on, and this is inferior corneal staining. This is one of the endpoints that lifitegrast got approved on, so it's sort of lifitegrast home territory here. At the end of the treatment, you can see that the effect size we achieved with 159 is in the ballpark of what was reported for the OPUS studies. But where the drug 159 really excelled and actually differentiated itself from lifitegrast is at the earlier time point, particularly at the day 14 time point. So very excited about the data for obvious reasons. Our scientific advisory board, I'm very happy, very fortunate to have these world leaders on our scientific ad board. It's great to essentially get their feedback into our programs. And concluding, so the initial clinical data with AXR159 show that at the 12-week time point, essentially we have lifitegrast type of activity on corneal staining, coupled with the earlier onset of activity and the fact that we have identified a responder population. So very great, very excited about that. Very excited also that we're hopefully going to start a clinical POC study for the second asset early next year, and hopefully I can tell you a little bit more about that next year. And then finally, we have some ambitious goals here, and I'm always looking for additional funding to drive our ambitious portfolio faster forward. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.